You're watching Newsnight. For almost 20 years, Nitish Kumar has been a steadfast ally of the Bharatiya Janata Party, both in Bihar and at the national level. But now, as Modi takes center stage in the Bharatiya Janata Party, Nitish Kumar is by some accounts 48 hours away from pulling the plug on the alliance. Nitish is worried because he believes that a Modified BJP will deal a mortal blow to his party's appeal among the minorities. But BJP insiders believe Nitish is playing fast and loose. They say the real reason behind his decision to exit the NDA is ego. The Bihar chief minister believes that it's only a matter of time before Modi is projected as the NDA's prime ministerial nominee, and honor, he believes, should go to him instead. Well, the JDU is of course denying this, saying that Nitish has put his commitment to secular principles above an alliance that has also brought him to power in Bihar. So it's a real supreme sacrifice, and it's a tough decision. The BJP is upset, saying Nitish has betrayed coalition dharma and is playing into the hands of the Congress by weakening the only credible alternative to it that exists nationally. Now, there may be arguments on both sides, but the timing of Nitish's decision to split from the NDA is indeed suspect, and by all available indicators, highly opportunistic. And therefore, tonight, we're asking, is Nitish justified in snapping ties with the Bharatiya Janata Party because of Modi? Let's first get a sense of how the parties, the two principal protagonists in Bihar, are seeing it.
मैंने मीटिंग इसलिए बुलाई है कि उसमें सब बातों पर विचार विमर्श करके फिर आपसे बात करेंगे।
मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ जनता दल यू का जो गठबंधन है नहीं टूटने पाएगा।
एक तरफ हम लोगों की जो स्थिति है, जो राजनीतिक डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है, उस डेवलपमेंट के मद्देनजर हम लोग आपस में चर्चा करेंगे और सारी परिस्थितियों पर विमर्श करेंगे। आज हमारे लिए कुछ भी करना उचित नहीं है और संभव नहीं।
गठबंधन जो है वो मजबूत रहे, गठबंधन में किसी तरह की दरार न हो, टकराव बिखराव न हो, ये हमेशा भारतीय जनता पार्टी कोशिश करती रही। और हमने ये मैं कह सकता हूं कि आज जो परिस्थितियां हैं, उन परिस्थितियों में एनडीए एकजुट भी है और मजबूत भी होकर उभरेगा और एनडीए बढ़ेगा भी।
Well, the BJP says respect coalition dharma. Nitish says it's about principles. He's not going to compromise on them. Where do these two parties stand? Let's put that question out. Joining us, Uday Singh, Member of Parliament of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Dr. Ajay Alok, General Secretary of the Janata Dal United. Ashok Malik, Senior Journalist. And Rajiv Gowda, Spokesperson of the Congress. Let me straight away come to you, Dr. Ajay Alok. Is this about ego? Many people are pointing to the timing of Nitish Kumar's decision, the impending decision to pull the plug. Is this really coming down to unvarnished opportunism, ego? You don't want to play second fiddle to Modi within the NDA?
First of all, let me clarify this very straightforward. There are only two things which has to happen. One is death, and secondly, adherence to our own principle. And our leader is very clear on these two fronts, that he is not going to compromise on his basic values, on his fundamental policies of his secularism and inclusive growth. The very basis of NDA formation was, number one, to keep the contentious issue at the bay, and that's how NDA came into this. Now, if you take it into the account for the last 10 days what is happening, forget about the contentious issues. Now these contentious issues are gradually turning into become contagious, and that's why our leadership has taken a call on this, and there's nothing called as a second fiddle or third fiddle, because we are very clear on our principles and our policies. So we don't want to become the part of this contagious issues which is gradually...
So you believe Modi's elevation pushes the Bharatiya Janata Party down a track of Hindutva that you're not comfortable with. Is that what you're saying?
We are not comfortable with any track that follows the path of extremism, that follows the path of communalism, and a sectarian politics is not accepted to us.
Equals extremism, which is not tolerable for the JDU. Uday Singh, a quick response to that.
Thank you, Rahul. It seems that Mr. Ajay Alok is a new convert to the line of people who talk secularism when it suits them. Mr. Alok will be well reminded that Mr. Nitish Kumar was very much a member of the cabinet here. So was Mr. Sharad Yadav when the unfortunate incidents in Gujarat happened, and we had heard no signs of protest, no protestations from Mr. Nitish Kumar then. The JDU had no qualms about tying up with us, which we did to rid Bihar of the RJD regime. He has run a government very comfortably with our support for the last 7-8 years.
Okay.
And now we hear these unfortunate noises that the JDU is likely to leave the NDA. It's going to be really unfortunate. It's going to be playing into the hands of the Congress, because the only thing that we need be interested today is to see how this corrupt, inefficient, dysfunctional government of the UPA at the center is replaced by a functional, honest, good government led by the BJP.
Okay, Dr. Alok, I'm going to come to you. Just add to that point. In Goa in 2002, when the Bharatiya Janata Party, led by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, was wanting to divest Mr. Modi of his responsibilities, it was Mr. Advani who came to his rescue, one of the architects of this alliance with the NDA. And you had no problems at that time and subsequently to allow yourself to be led by Mr. Advani. Many people say that he was the original architect of Hindutva, the real polarizer.
Let me make one thing very clear. In 2002, Godhra happened, the most unfortunate incident. We were a party to the NDA regime, not to the BJP regime in Gujarat. We were party, we were under the dynamic leadership of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who was then Prime Minister. And he very categorically said that Raj Dharm Nibhana hai. Mr. Nitish Kumar was a part of that cabinet, which was headed by Honorable Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And Mr. Nitish Kumar,
well, on 31st March, no, let me jog your memory back to 31st March 2002, George Fernandes, one of the tallest leaders of the JDU, defended Narendra Modi's government handling of the situation in Gujarat. He says, there's no reason to believe that the Modi government has been found lacking in its handling of this situation. That's his quote. And he was asked this specifically because many people were demanding of the center to dismiss the Gujarat government.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Number one, Nitish Kumar was then railway minister when Godhra happened, under the prime ministership of Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
The center could have taken a call on dismissing Mr. Modi's government.
That was the call. That was the call.
Because supposedly Raj Dharma was not followed.
That was the call to be taken by the then prime minister.
The JDU, one of the principal allies of the NDA at that time, felt there was no reason to do that. Ashok Malik, I'm just going to involve you here to talk a little bit about these contradictions that are emerging. The BJP says, look to the past. You've had no compunctions, piggybacking on the Bharatiya Janata Party from 96, from Samta Party years. And now when it's inconvenient for you, you've dumped the BJP.
You see, I think this reference to secularism 2002, all of this it's a good sort of cover for what is a very pragmatic political decision. The BJP and JDU government came to power in Bihar in 2005. In the past 8 years, the BJP has been on the back foot nationally as well, because the party has been receding. It lost it lost Mr. Vajpayee as a leader.
Yes.
Mr. Advani couldn't quite fill those shoes. There was infighting in the second generation. The party was on the back foot. Now the party, for whether you like it or you don't like it, has found a mascot in Mr. Modi. Some people like him, some people don't, but he's there. He's emerged as the first among equals. He's emerged as a leader. Now, there is fear, justifiable, legitimate fear in many state allies of the BJP, in the JDU, and to some degree in the Shiv Sena in Mumbai and Maharashtra as well, that a stronger BJP under a stronger national leader may tilt the balance in the equation between the two parties.
See, that's the real fear.
That's one fear. The second fear is Mr. Nitish Kumar is gambling not so much with the 2014 Lok Sabha election in mind, but with the 2015 assembly elections in mind. He obviously doesn't want to go as part of, as a junior partner or as a secondary partner of a possible Modi-led NDA.
Interesting.
So he calculates that if he retains some of the Muslim vote, which he's won over the past few years, if he gets the Kurmi and lower OBC and the Mahadalit vote to some degree, and if he gets a section, a slice of the upper caste vote in areas where the BJP is not in
So the Maharajganj verdict, recent verdict, Ashok Malik, would have actually sent tremors through the JDU because the Muslims didn't really weigh in the favor of Nitish Kumar. So
I was telling you what Mr. Nitish Kumar's best case scenario is.
Yes.
But what his worst case scenario could be Yadavs and Muslims combining behind Lalu, and the upper caste and urban vote and sections of the OBCs combining behind Modi. In which case the JDU would be at number 3.
I see. So it all comes down to electoral adjustment,
Yes.
really, arithmetic. It's the core logic of arithmetic. Many people, Dr. Alok, have said that the JDU is not a natural partner of the Bharatiya Janata Party, that this was an alliance post-poll in its manifestation. It came about because it suited the interests of all these parties. They were disparate, not ideologically bound together at all.
See, in today's
So let's face it.
Yeah, in today's context, we have to agree on certain things, that there's not a single party rule is going to come to this country in the next 10 years
But
or
why
15
don't
years
you
to come.
accept, Dr. Ajay Alok, that your decision has nothing to do with Mr. Modi's alleged communal record or the lack of it? It has to do with a basic electoral calculation, and there's nothing wrong in being opportunistic. Why don't you just say that coalition dharma can
We
be
do
rewritten?
not believe in the politics of opportunity. We believe in the politics of secularism and the politics of commitment to our voters and to the people of this country and to the people of Bihar. Now, let us come and face this thing very clearly. I'm telling you right from the beginning.
No, but you see an opportunity.
Where is the
See an
opportunity?
opportunity.
Where
as
is
of
the
now
opportunity?
to give
This
up-
is- this is
to
not the
give up the
opportunity.
alliance, because you feel, as Ashok Malik and others have pointed out, that a Modi-led BJP might scare away your constituents.
Is that what you think so? If you think, it's your thinking absolutely, it is not our thinking.
Okay, you're dancing around this stuff. You're not actually answering my question as candidly as I was hoping you would. Rajiv Gowda, listening in closely. Mr. Gano, come in here, because fundamentally there's a disconnect in what both the sides are saying. The BJP on this show comes out and says, look, this is rank opportunism. There is contradiction as far as what the JDU seems to be imputing. The JDU says, no, we are standing by our principles. How do you see it?
Well, actually, I'm very happy to see parties rediscovering the secular ideals that animate India, and the JDU certainly has its roots in a very, very secular tradition, a socialist tradition, and so in that sense it seems to be rediscovering these core values, and so in that sense it's a healthy development for the larger polity. But otherwise this is clearly...
No, but Nitish Kumar is also staying away from you. Nitish Kumar is staying away from you.
No,
You're
no,
not
that's
gaining.
all right. I mean,
You're not gaining.
as long as there are multiple secular parties, no, it's perfectly fine. As long as parties are committed to secularism, that is the essence of India. And so we're very happy to see more parties actively and openly committing to that, getting rid of connections with communal parties. So I'm very happy to see those kinds of developments. It may be late, but it's certainly a realization that's good for the country.
Mr. Uday Singh? Mr. Uday Singh, respond to that. Because it
Yes.
seems that Mr. Gowda is calling your bluff.
Look, I'll tell you what, how hollow and specious this argument of JDU seems. In 2005, in 2010, in the Lok Sabha elections in 2009, they were very comfortable with the BJP.
No, but the
section of
Congress
the
is saying-
electorate that they're trying to appease now.
No, Mr.
They're
Uday
trying
Singh,
to
the
appease
Congress
now.
is saying very
They did
clearly
not know that Mr. Modi is part of the BJP.
that Mr. Modi is a polarizing presence whose secular credentials are suspect. This is what your own alliance partner as of today is saying about your mascot for 2014.
the alliance partners who are also threatening to leave, not the alliance partners who are meaning to stay with us, as we would wish the JDU would stay with us. So they are coming up with arguments which is convenient for them at this stage so that they can make an exit. It's their call really.
Right.
We have done all that we could. Okay. Our most senior leaders have appealed to them, told them, we have all in our own way tried to tell them
right
that
from
this
the
is no time
whether it is 2005 or
NDA.
2009 or 2010 elections. Our stand has been very clear. We were not at all uncomfortable with BJP, but what we are uncomfortable with someone leading the BJP, which is not acceptable.
How is Advani in the JDU's?
Oh God!
How is Advani in the JDU's matrix more secular and Modi more communal? I just want to understand this because this is at the heart really of the dissension, isn't it, Dr. Alok?
The heart of dissension
Only
is
Mr.
not
Nitish
Advani
Kumar
versus
can
Modi.
answer
Now the thing is, respected
both
Advani
of them
ji.
are polarizers. One led the entire Hindutva movement, one is charge sheeted and is a prime suspect in the Babri Masjid demolition case, which is the biggest provocation to minorities, as some have said. How is it okay for Nitish Kumar to work and also contest elections under an Advani in 2009 and not so much a Modi in 2014?
Please do not forget, Honorable Mr. Advani ji, along with Honorable Vajpayee ji, and our dynamic leader Mr. Nitish Kumar, along with the legendary Sri George
I know the
Fernandez ji.
history, but
these all four were the architects of creating NDA.
But history also brings out certain
These are the
obvious
architects.
truths.
They
And
were
one of
never
those
an
truths
instigator
is
in the
that
criminal
might be
rights.
So we've conceded that they are the architects. But
Advani has never,
fundamentally,
Mr.
how is it-
Advani ji has never been accused.
No, Dr. Ajay Alok, let me ask you a simple question. How is an individual who is an accused in the Babri Masjid demolition case any more or any less secular than another individual that is not charged but accused of perhaps turning a blind eye to the Godhra riots? I don't understand the distinction. Please explain that.
Rahul, not only accused,
not a matter
he has been persecuted for the last 10 years, and not a single case has been made to stick on him.
Who has been persecuted?
Explain that, Dr. Ajay Alok.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Explain that.
That's what I've been trying to tell you, that when NDA was formed, it was decided that certain contentious issues, what were really a cause of concern for us and for the other parties, that will be kept aside.
And that's a specific question.
This is a specific question I'm
That has
answering.
not changed.
That's why we acceded to
That has
Advani
not
ji.
changed.
Advani ji being a prime ministerial candidate in 2009, we didn't have any objection to it because since 1996, since the NDA came into the function, it was Mr. Advani ji who was taking care of
But
it.
he's had cases against him.
He
He's
ha-
definitely one of those individuals who is suspected of the conspiracy behind the demolition. Isn't that a provocation to the minority? I'm just asking you a fundamental question that I suppose even our viewers can't see.
He was also first person to apologize for the Babri Masjid
That's
demolition.
immaterial, sir. That's immaterial. All I'm asking you is, under eyes of the law, if there is guilt to be imputed, then both are equally guilty in varying degrees of two communal incidents.
Number one, I am no one to justify Honorable Advani ji, but let me tell you one thing. When Babri Masjid demolition happened, Mr. Uday Singh, Honorable MP is listening, when Babri Masjid demolition happened, it was Advani ji who first pointed out that this is the saddest day of my life. And he has gone on the court and on record to say that umpteenth number of times. But let me ask you one question. Did any apology has come for 2002 riots?
But both you and the BJP have attacked the Congress even though they've apologized for the Sikh riots. So let's also look at that.
No, that's what I'm trying to ask you. Did any apology has come for 2002 riots?
Mr. Ashok Malik, how is Advani secular and Modi communal?
You see, this is a very important question that you raised. If you saw the incidents earlier this week, on Monday when Mr. Advani resigned and rebelled against the RSS and the BJP, he turned secular. On Tuesday when he withdrew his resignation, he turned communal loyal again. So this is very, very surprising, and I can't fail to understand it. But I go back to my original position. I think the secular argument or communal argument is a bit of a hoax. The actual problem is if Mr. Advani leads the BJP remains weak, and in the equation between the BJP and the JDU remains the bigger partner in Bihar.
So it's a deep sense of insecurity.
If Modi comes in, he could change the equation and make the BJP that much more robust.
Okay, let's, for the purpose of continuity in thought and the direction we've taken. I just want to get a sense from you, Mr. Malik, about the distinction that is being drawn by the JDU. Advani is secular for the JDU, Modi communal. How does this work? And is there really a distinction?
No, I find there's one issue which the MP raised. He said that the three contentious issues were set aside in I think 1998 when the alliance was formed, which was Article 370, the Uniform Civil Code, and the Ram Janmabhoomi.
But that still stands.
Yeah, that still stands. Modi has not once said that these three issues are going to dominate the 2014 election campaign. So what has changed? I can't understand it.
Dr. Ajay, what has changed? None of the terms of agreement have changed. The MOU remains the same.
The very leadership, the very question that under whose leadership the NDA is going to face the elections. This was our concern right for the last 2 years, and it has been a prime concern. Now, we cannot let this happen.
No, but then under whose leadership? You have been willing, if one could impute
They cannot
motives.
let what happened? We have not announced the NDA candidate for the Prime Minister.
That's right.
Why this hurry?
We
Why
have
48
announced-
hours? Why put a gun?
It's not a matter
Exactly.
of 48 hours. We cannot be blind with our eyes open. You know,
Are you
with a
suggesting
situation.
Mr. Advani has spoken to Mr. Nitish Kumar, the top leadership of the Bharatiya Janata Party has spoken to Mr. Nitish Kumar to assuage him that this is going to be a collective decision taken by all the stakeholders in the Bharatiya Janata Party. There is no imminence to Mr. Modi being declared the prime ministerial candidate. Your party itself has said December is the deadline. What has suddenly got into Mr. Nitish Kumar that in 48 hours he wants resolution? What's happened? You don't trust Mr. Advani?
No, it's not a matter. It's just being discussed in our party forum that what should be our next step. Because if this is the leadership BJP is going to project, then definitely we have our concerns intact.
No, but Mr. Advani is saying that this is not the final word on
Exactly.
who's going to lead. So why don't you trust
So
Mr.
let
Advani,
this-
the person
that's what we are
who's the
telling.
architect of your alliance?
We are not
What's
telling,
the hurry?
we are
Why
not telling
48 hours?
as of now the alliance stands. We are not telling that alliance is over.
No.
Let this
In
come into
48
our party
hours, we have it
forum,
from
we'll discuss it.
authoritative
We are only
sources
putting
that
a
in
gun to our
48
head.
hours.
Until and
Sorry.
unless
Mr. Uday Singh, you wanted to make a point.
Yes, I'm saying they are part of the alliance, but they are only holding a gun to our head and saying you decide in 48 hours. I mean, is this how
Who told it's going to be decided in
coalition
48
partner
hours?
is to behave with a senior partner?
who told it is going to be decided in 48 hours? We said that we are going to call a party meeting.
That's what-
we're
that's
going to
what the
discuss the
news
issue in the
reports
party,
say.
and then we'll be coming out. Our leader has clearly said it. Honorable Mr. Nitish Kumar has already said it that we are going to take a call on it.
So many things at the same time.
No, Mr. Uday Singh is asking a very simple, straightforward question, and I'm sure prospective allies of yours are also going to be asking this question of the Nitish Kumar JDU, that one has to respect the boundaries of coalition dharma. Why are you in such a hurry to change the yardsticks? Dr. Alok?
Yeah, we are not here to change the yardsticks. Our stand has been principally very clear right from the beginning. I'm telling you that what leadership NDA has to go to
When
the
did
people.
this beginning begin?
Sorry? So with this,
When did this beginning begin?
this beginning has begun right since 2005. And we were very clear in 2009 parliamentary
What
election, in
happened before that?
2010 elections.
What happened in 2000? What happened 2002? You
In
were
2000 and
comfortable
2002,
enjoying ministerial positions at the center.
In 2000 and 2002,
When the
I've
guys
just
that
made
you
this very
refer to
clear. I've
happened
made
at
this
the
very
time
clear.
when you guys were
Honorable
ministers.
Nitish Kumar was performing his Raj
You made
Dharma
this very
according to
clear. Go and
Mr.
get another
Vajpayee.
brief for yourself, Mr. Alok.
He was doing his duties, and we were under no situation that we cannot dictate BJP whom to keep chief minister and whom to remove. This was not our point of concern.
could have
It was
taken
taken
resign.
by BJP.
But you're doing
Mr.
it now,
Ramvilas
Dr. Alok, you're
Paswan
doing it
resigned.
now.
We are just telling him in
Mr.
terms of
Ramvilas
NDA.
Paswan
We are
resigned.
not telling
He could have
BJP who to
resigned.
project leader. We are just telling one thing, mentioning very clear that if this is the leadership, we are not going to be a part of NDA. That's very clear point. Right from the beginning, we are onto it.
But in other
Where
words,
is the
you're
confusion?
holding a gun to the Bharatiya Janata Party's head. You're taking away
Exactly.
the prerogative from the Bharatiya Janata Party to declare who should be leading it.
See,
is that what you're saying?
No, in a coalition, the responsibility is shared by every partner, and the senior partner has to respect the coalition dharma.
But let that moment come.
Yes.
Why are you pushing and propelling?
We are not pushing. We are
the
just
Bharatiya
telling.
Janata
We are just.
Party towards that moment when Mr. L.K. Advani has come and spoken to Mr. Nitish Kumar and said, "Oh, Mr. Sharad Yadav to say, trust me, let the alliance continue. It's in the interests of everyone." There are many JDU leaders who seem to be suggesting the same. Why is Nitish Kumar setting deadlines?
We are not set any deadlines. We have just said, my leader has just said that we are going to take a call this on the party because the writing is clear on the wall.
Well,
We are not.
at least on
we
the
are not.
principle.
We are not. We are
At
not.
least
blind.
on the point of principle, our viewers have been privy to a discussion that seems to suggest that there's an heightened level of opportunism in Nitish Kumar's stand. Whether it's justified or not, of course, is a different matter. The JDU says, yes, we're well within our rights to exert ourselves when we feel that our worldview is completely now at divergence from the Bharatiya Janata Party, and we will go ahead and protect our own interests. If that's what it's come down to, one wishes that Nitish Kumar led JDU to come out and say it. We're leaving it at that on Newsnight tonight. Center Stage coming up in just a few moments. We're looking at a big expose on the show with Rahul Kamal. Stay with us.